the defense.
Is there anything better than beating the Jets, boys? Welcome to Split the Defense, Leafs post game, presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors, serving the Kingston and surrounding area since 2004. Proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. I'm Webby with CP and producer Ted in the booth. Thumbs up this episode, subscribe to our YouTube, leave us a comment, and listen to the episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find a podcast, you can listen to the show after we're done. So JT nets a hat trick, and the Leafs beat the undefeated Winnipeg Jets. Final score 6-4, and I never doubted one. CP, how about you?
I not gonna lie, a little bit of doubt came into my head right around the middle of the third period, but I mean, really, it was like everything was all full steam ahead until we got into penalty trouble, and then that's kind of things started to slowly change. We got to kind of chip away a bit, but definitely at the end got a little scary.
Yeah, it was sloppy, to say the least. And it was only sloppy for such minor times and such little mistakes. Like, you know, not to nitpick at the penalties, but like it was just they weren't doing it the whole time. It's just little stuff that needs to be cleaned up is what bit them tonight. That made it close because they could have put this away at 5-2. They should have put this away at a 5-2, but instead the Winnipeg Jets, well, Kyle Connor came back and made this a game, although it was Mark Scheifele helped as well. But, I mean, the Leafs, they just don't have that killer instinct still in them. They don't have that defensive shutdown. I'd like the Leafs to be a team that are talked about in a way that they get up in the game and they shut it down. And everybody says that you don't want to give the Leafs a lead because the game's over after that. That would be the Leafs that I want to watch, but that's just not the Leafs that we have right now. But they did start out real good tonight. About as good as the first period as Leafs could have. They were up 2-0, 18 shots on goal in that opening period. And Jake McCabe had himself a hell of a game. Hell of a first period, too. He was on the ice for 8 shots on the first period and 1 against. That's a 99% for expected goals for.
Wow, holy, that's crazy. A 99, holy. I mean,
McCabe had a hell of a game. That was just the first period, though.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's funny though. Like, are you sold on the pairings? Because like, even though like, yes, the Jake McCabe played well, but like, I still feel like it's a weird pairing for him to be on. I mean, I guess he has more defensive help. It's more of a shutdown, but. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, there's a bunch of guys on the team that had a hell of a game. Great games from, the top 6, basically, I'd say. I mean, definitely Matthews Marner felt a lot more prevalent in the first period, but, the second line definitely, picked it up in the second or end of the first, into the second. And yeah, some good games from quite a few players.
We can talk ourselves into whatever defense pairings we want to, but I don't know what. I think the one that makes most sense is Tanev with Riley and OEL and McCabe. But that didn't work for a few games. So what's the proper defense pairings? What do I think of them? I think we won a game. I think it's the same defense pairings we had last game when we lost a game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, this team is Jekyll and Hyde right now. Like, I don't even know what to think of anything. I need a larger sample size, which is crazy. It's like this, like I've said over and over, this group has played together. They should know each other at this point, and they just are still doing the same things they've done in the past, even with new supporting cast and a new coach and new GM and new methods. And I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to work. I know what would make the most sense. I know what looks good on paper, but like, I don't know. Let's win a few games in a row with a lineup, and then I'll be able to so solidly give you an answer on what pairings I like best together. I could see McCabe and Tanev working out in like the playoffs as like shutdown, not all the time 5-on-5, but in certain situations with a lead, I could see that working well. But I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you about the
I
defense pairings.
I think one thing too, like with the entire team, is we're probably going to see a bit of a mix up for a while. Like it seems like that's kind of what Brube likes to do is mix things up. Like what we're in game 8 or 9, and we've already seen how many iterations of this team. So I feel like that's probably going to be more
Oh,
common, and even like we saw it, if we want to get to it, but second line got mix up today. Domi moved
hold
down,
on, hold
JT
on.
moved up.
Did you listen to Kipper and Bourne today? Did
No.
you listen? Well, they said something along the lines of it feels like the J, Justin Bourne's example was it feels like when you're looking for something and it's lost, and you tell somebody you need help looking for something, and they go and they look in all the exact same places you just looked, and it's still not there because it wasn't there to begin with, and it's like that's pretty much what's happening with this new coach. He's like, oh, well, that wasn't working. Maybe we should try this. And we're all over here like, that didn't work with the old guy. Like, why is it like you're doing the same stuff? There's
I
no
mean,
change. And I can
also
fully get on board with that. He's tinkering and tinkering, but it's like it's no major change. There's no major development here except for William Nylander's playing less than 20 minutes a night every night.
yeah, I mean, also new system too, though, right? So like, I am okay with seeing the same things that we've seen in previous years, just because like, yeah, new system, new style. So I can see like the same thing with like going with Tavares and Willie. You know, like I said it a couple times that like maybe it'll be different this time. Like it's the what 10th time we've seen the team go with it and then go away with it and then come back to it. And so, it was, but it worked well. So like, we're definitely going to see it again, like
Yeah.
next game, I could guarantee that that's the second line we see.
Yeah, and I know he's going to continue to tinker until we go on some sort of a heater, and he better not be a coach that we go on a heater and he continues to tinker after, because that'll just drive me nuts. What do you think of Jake McCabe's contract? 5 years by $4.51 million. It's actually $4.7 million, but he's deferred some money in between the years 4 and 5, which actually makes it $4.51 million on the cap. How do you feel about that term and cap hit for Jake McCabe on the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I think it's probably perfect. I don't know, like you always want to get less out of a contract, but thinking about what he provides for this team, like he's I might be biased because he's I think my favorite defenseman on the team, but he just when you're getting a top line or second line defenseman, like that seems to be it was like 5 years ago about a $5 million mark for that spot. So I think it's a bit of a discount. He wants to be here. He's one of the few Americans that like seems to want to play in Canada. And he's really embraced being like playing for this team, and he like embodies exactly what this team loves, or this fan base, I should say, loves. Just like willing to just light a guy up coming across the blue line, plays hard in his own end, like willing to put his life on the line for his team. And also just makes a flashy play here and there. Like sometimes you get a Hero McCabe play. So yeah, I think 4.5 cap hit, I think, is kind of perfect. Like, what do you think? Do you think it's high or low or perfect?
I think it's low cap hit. I think it's a high term, but I think that all works out in the wash. That's why he signed it. He probably could have got more money, maybe even the same term elsewhere, but I think it was probably too much term either way. But I don't know. I like Jake McCabe. I think he is a good all-around player. As long as he stops going for walks in the offensive zone,
Okay.
I would love him even more. But I do like Jake McCabe. I like 4.51. I think that's good. 4.51 when we have $100 million cap in a couple years here. Like 4.51 is peanuts. Doesn't matter. It's fine. So we had Holmberg come in tonight on the third line. Holmberg, Domi, McMahon. What did you think of the three of them playing together?
I mean, it was okay. I wasn't like it didn't knock my socks off, inside joke there. I think that yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I wouldn't I'm not sold on it. I think it's also a line that he kind of destroyed going into the end of the game and put the players that he wanted in the game. So Yeah, Holmberg is an interesting, like, it's hard for me to read what Berube thinks of Holmberg because he gets scratched, but also he like compliments him, puts him in situations where like you would want your better defensive forwards in, like the end of the game tonight. He's been on the PK. He's been the first guy on the PK on certain nights. So, yeah, it's hard to read what he thinks of Holmberg, but yeah, the third line, like I'm not sold. Domi plus Holmberg. It doesn't like scream like it's gonna be an amazing matchup, but it is what it is. I really love the second line, and I think that's what sells me on the third line being a bit more of a wash. It kind of eliminates Domi from being really utilized from what he should be used for. But like Pacioretty looked amazing playing with Tavares and Willie. Willie for once actually just like put his full effort in when he's playing with Tavares. Yeah, I just thought like all around it was a pretty good effort from the second. So that always changes my mind a bit about the third line for some reason.
Yeah, so now we've got the second line back as JT and Willie, and you did make comments on that already. You said earlier you wanted to make more comments on it, but I think that it's a thing. I like JT and Pacioretty. Now we still have these third line issues. I don't know who's going to be our third line or how that's going to work, but even though it's kind of more of the same, it's kind of like Willie, JT, and Guy, like we've seen in the past. I do kind of like that second line. Do you think that's something that they should keep using?
I mean, like it's funny because like a lot of the plays tonight ended up being Pacioretty and Tavares making together, and so I just like I
Oh no, we lost
can
your
you still
cam,
hear me?
CP. Yeah, I can hear you. I lost your cam, CP.
Yeah, that's something's going on with my computer at the moment. Anyway, oh yeah, a lot of the plays tonight seem to be a lot of Tavares and Pacioretty together, and so like I don't know, like was Willie the reason that tonight was like that line worked, or was it more of that, you know, tonight was a like an easier night for that lineup, you know?
Yeah, there's that. Except for, is it an easier night? I mean, this is the undefeated Jets. They won 8 games in a row to start the season. Like, I don't know if it's easier or not. Like, I feel like this was a pretty good litmus test as far as if you're playing against a good team. Can you play against a good team? And they stood up against a good team tonight. The Winnipeg Jets have Connor Hellebuck in net. They are 8-0 as a team. They have a bunch of players that are good, if not great, and they have a pretty good top line. So, like, I don't know. Why do you think it's easier?
There we go. We got him back.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
back.
there
Can
we
you hear
go.
me?
You may need to ask him again.
Yeah, I wasn't there. What's up?
Okay, so we have Connor Hellebuck in net on the Jets on the other side. They're undefeated, 8-0. You've got a bunch of good players. They've got depth, and they've got a pretty good top line. So, what makes you think that it's easier?
Like I'm not saying that it's easier. It's just like a better night for the entire team. Like they had their legs tonight. I think that it's one of those nights where I almost feel like in the first period, it didn't matter what lineup you had, who was playing with who. Like everyone seemed to be going. So like that's where I'm kind of not sold that it was exactly that Willie and JT looked amazing together tonight, or if it's just like the team for a half a game just looked amazing. And so I'm
Have
not
they
like
tried this combination yet? Because, like, I don't know if they have. But they've also
no.
looked good with other combinations. So, like,
Yeah, we've seen JT and Patches together. We've seen Willie and Tavares together like previously. The three together, I'm not so sure we've seen them all three together. So that's what I'm kind of saying. Like it's something where like, yeah, you got to see it, go with it again, and then you kind of can see, if it continues to work. And like Tim in the comments said, like, what about rolling like 13 forwards with a rotation all the time? And it's the kind of situation where like we're not sold on anything yet, like except for the top line. Like the bottom nine is kind of we're not sure of.
yeah,
So until that point, I think you can rotate 13 and or at least like the bottom nine and go from there.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so Nyes scores again. 4 goals in his last 5 games. He's averaging 17 minutes a night, 17:03 per game. I think all the questions about whether Matthew Nyes fits in on this top line are moot now. He is shooting at like a whole shot per game higher than he did last year. And if his shooting percentage stays the same, again, another stat I got off Gipper and Bourne, his shooting percent, or his goal percent, his goal total, his goal total would go up by 10 goals. 10 goals. So that's a lot, right? Like, can you imagine what he scored 15 last year? So it's 25 goal Nyes.
Yeah,
Nyes
I mean,
is
if you just
really good on that top line.
Yeah, playing with Matthews and Marner, if you just go to the front of the net and someone is a big body and competent with their stick, like it's almost an automatic 15 to 20. And then on top of that, if you can just provide a little bit more of your own scoring, then yeah, like that's where we've seen so many people succeed in that position. It's because like if you're just a cleanup guy, you're gonna have success, and Matthew Nyes has more skills than just a cleanup guy. He's like on the goal tonight, his own goal. Like he collects the puck, is like the reason that they create the play. And then he's also the guy that's in front of the net to clean it up and score. So like, I think that's a big part of his game. He's also not just taking more shots. Like I bet you his takeaways are way up and not just per game, but per 60, like even though he's getting more minutes, like per minute he's out there, he is getting more takeaways, more hits, more shots. Like I do feel like we're seeing a real evolution in this guy's game. And this is where like Leaf fans get so ahead of themselves because I think this is what a lot of people wanted last year. And you got to be honest, like this is a kid coming out of college, playing with men now. Yeah. And so like now to see it come into like fruition this year, not saying last year was a disappointment, but I think that like for a lot of people that expected a ton from Matthews, like they're probably pretty satisfied at this point. Like this is becoming a real first line player with, a couple of guys he seems to gel with perfectly.
Finally.
Yeah. Lock him up now. Let's give him a contract.
Speaking about net front, Leafs were putting in work in front of the net tonight. Was it just my eyes? Is it confirmation bias? Or did it look like the net was much more occupied in the opposition zone tonight? It looked like they actually stopped up. Looked like they were taking control of the front of the net tonight. And I think that was a big reason they scored a lot of their goals.
Yeah, I have written on my page here playoff goals. And, there's a lot of, rebound goals, tip in front, plays in front. Like the Riley goal is like a little bit of a regular season goal because he just walks down the middle and there's no one in front. But yeah, like I do feel like, and I'm not sure if it's, the players like changing their minds on how to play or if this is just how the system's built. But yeah, it just seems like tonight, yeah, a lot of in front presence, that's for sure. Like every team has kind of their signature play or how they collect the most amount of goals. Like Edmonton is just their power play. Like Winnipeg tonight, it's a lot of down low like grinding and then whip the puck out top and get either either swing it to someone to take a one timer. It's just a shot on net to get something happening. So yeah, every team has their thing, and so I hope that like getting pucks in front of the net, tips, and dirty goals is kind of an identity this team can have. And like there's quite a few bodies that will excel with that. So yeah, hopefully. But I saw the same thing, yeah.
So Tim's got another question here, and I'm going to phrase it. Stay with me here. So
Okay.
Stolars was amazing tonight.
Yes.
And we play Seattle on Thursday, Halloween game. So is it going to be the Stoly-Poly goalie or the Woly-Poly goalie?
Oh my gosh. I think it's going to be the Woly-Poly goalie.
You think we're going to see Joseph Woll? Now,
I also said that last game.
did you not expect to see Joseph Woll tonight?
Yes, I did. But every starter kind of has their, like, only the best starters in the league go 3 games and then they get a night off. Like even Sorokin, he only plays 2 games and then he gets a night off. So like for someone like Stolars, regardless if like I'm sure that your next question might be, is he our like definitive starter? But
Clearly, I don't even have to ask that.
yeah, I mean, but I think that yeah, but you don't want to really push a guy who's never been done this for seasons on end. So like I do think that like yes, Brube wants to put his best goalie out there, but it's also about managing your goalie who just seems to be a guy, and so treat him like someone you want to take care of. Don't just roll him out there for 10 games in a row trying to collect wins and then, surprise, surprise, at game 15, he's injured. So that's my only thing. But yeah, I think that if this was like the Boston Bruins next game, I think that you might go with him again. But like who'd you say we were playing?
Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, I think you can put Wall in there. I think it's time.
You think so? I think that makes sense. Thanks for the question, Tim. I forgot some stuff here. We were talking about that second line. So Patches had 3 assists tonight. JT had 3 goals tonight.
Yeah.
That line was just rocking. And Patches hasn't had 3 points. He hasn't had his first 3+ point night in nearly 3 years. This tweet is by David Alter. He had a goal and an assist on December 13th, 2021 with the Golden Knights in a 6-4 win against the Wild. So with that being said, do you expect Patches to just come back and all of a sudden now be this phenom that we can rely on the second line?
Well, I
if he's
think it depends on a couple things, and maybe something else that we haven't talked about yet, but we should, is like, he was on the power play tonight with Austin Matthews. Like that's that can be a pretty
so
big
is Patches
point
fully
buff.
back then, like 100%.
Well, no.
Captain of the Montreal Canadiens, Patches back, like
No, I mean, I even feel like the best version of Patches was Vegas. Like there was some streaks when he played for Vegas where he was unbelievable. And then he tore his Achilles. Like there's no way he can be the same player that he was back when he played for Vegas at his height, in Montreal when he was the captain. Like you shouldn't expect that for him. It's a beautiful night from him, but is there potential for him to have more 3-point nights in his career? 100%. Like he showed tonight that like he made a really nice plays in tight with like players on him and still providing kind of the more physical play that he's trying to incorporate into his game. So yeah, like I really like Patches tonight. Do I expect him next game to get like 2 points? Like, I don't know. Like that seems like a lot, but and also
to ever do it again.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
If he plays like 30 games or 40 games, I'd say like there's at least like multiple multi-point games. I think that's kind of what you'll see from him, is like, he'll go a bunch of games with no points and then he'll turn in one tonight. But I think it all hinges a lot on, is he on the second line? Is he on the first power play? Like that's a lot
I
of
guess that helps, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Before he was
definitely.
second power play, got 30 seconds a game basically, and third line. So yeah, you get a boost in points too, but we'll see.
So are you superstitious, CP?
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay. Well, these black jerseys are bad luck.
Oh, I love them.
We do not have a lot of wins with those black jerseys, but tonight we did win.
Yeah.
And with those black jerseys and Stolar's pads, that might have been the most beautiful combination of gear I've ever seen in my whole entire life, and I just had to mention that.
You know what? I'm not a guy that really notices equipment very much.
Oh,
I know. So
brother.
I'll have to look back. A lot of it to me, I'm like, maybe I'm just being a loser here, but a lot of it to me, it just seems like a lot of the same iteration of the same thing. So when someone does something cool, I love it. So, but I think I've been kind of just, I just are disappointed a lot of the time with like masks and gear and stuff. But I like the black jerseys though. I think it's, I'm not superstitious.
Black pads with the blue on it and like the black jersey with the blue on it. That looked real good.
Nice.
So Mo scored again. Morgan Riley. He scored his 83rd career goal and moved into a tie with Thomas Caberlet and Brian McCabe for 5th place on the Maple Leafs all-time list among defensemen. Wow. And he's now got 3 on the season. And we're definitely looking at another 20-goal Morgan Riley season. That's happening. Morgan Riley for 20 goals. I'm campaigning it. Like, gonna get signs and everything.
you know what? It's like he's having kind of a down year points wise too. Like I listened to a bunch of fantasy hockey podcasts, and a lot of them are like trade for Morgan Riley now. Like he's just getting back on the power play, and he's not getting a lot of points. You never know, and so, but yeah, it seems to be has a nice shot on him still, and yeah, tonight just what a
Clearly.
snipe! Like that was such a
Shooting
nice
more.
shot. Yeah,
That's obviously been
his whole
made
career.
the mandate. Like
Yeah.
that's something that's been barked down his throat is you need to shoot. And now he's shooting. And look at what happens. Amazing what happens when you shoot, Mo. Amazing. Just amazing what happens.
The Leafs, I think, are like they're at least in the bottom 5, but I think they're last place for goals from defensemen in the last 5 years. And so like that's a stat that you want to get more from your defenseman. I know that like we're kind of designed a little bit more for a shutdown. You don't get Tanev because you want to get more goals. But
No.
maybe adding OEL and telling Morgan Riley to shoot more, a little bit more of a different design and play. Like even Tanev can get a few by just throwing them on net. So I do like the point shot more than the average person. I think it just creates a lot in the zone, creates havoc. And even if you don't have a good shot, at least if you can get it via the first block, like even if it ends up in front and just falls at the
Yeah.
feet, like it can create a play.
Yeah, make the goalie move to make the first save, and then you never know what can happen, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and Tanev's got a bit of a bomb on him, like he can launch it.
Yeah.
So my last point of business here for the night, we got Maple Leafs forward Pontus Holmberg skated in his 100th career NHL game tonight. Holmberg is the 15th player from Sweden to appear in 100 games for the franchise.
Wow. Cool.
Did you know that?
I did not.
100 games for Pontus Holmberg. Not a lot of guys get to 100 games. Pontus Holmberg back in the lineup. Do we continue to see him in the lineup? He's kind of fallen out of favor with the coach. Do you think his game was good enough tonight that they're going to keep the same lineup against the Kraken here on Thursday? Or do you think we see another rotation and changes?
Well, I don't know. This is where I'm kind of confused about Holmberg because like Brube puts him out at the end of the game tonight, and it's like it mixes up the lines a bit to do it. So like he obviously trusts him. So I like Holmberg. He's never a player that I think you should expect much from, but and put in the right scenarios, like he does have a defensive mindset with a little bit of offensive upside. I guess the real question is like, is Nick Robertson like still on the team? Like, I know I heard this secondhand, and apparently it's from Twitter, but like a lot of questions about whether Nick Robertson is being traded or not. And like, I don't know.
Well,
I just think that unless that there was a direct like requirement for Robertson signing that he would be traded the moment that he got scratched. Like I just don't think that. I think he's being treated just like Pontus Holmberg is, and we'll see him back in the lineup here at some point.
you think we're going to see Nick Robertson back in next game? You think?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, like we've kind of seen more of a rotation, and maybe it's Ryan Reeves' turn to sit. He's played a few too many games for my liking, I think. So, I think maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I would like to see Ryan Reeves sit next game and get Robertson back in.
So Justin wants us to talk about the Leafs PK. What was the Leafs PK tonight? Not good.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about
Leafs
it.
PK this season. Why don't you go ahead and tell me your feelings on the Leafs penalty killing abilities?
I mean, it wasn't amazing, but I will say, like Connor sniped a couple unreal shots. Like I think it's more about just Winnipeg's power play is like clicking at over 40% right now on the season, like not just tonight, on the season. So I think it's more about like Kyle Connors just seems to be a power play, gremlin right now. It's crazy what he's being able to do. And Scheifele, I think, got one too. Like there's one on the man advantage, 6-on-5. Like, I mean, it was crazy what they could do on the power play. So I'm not necessarily thinking that it's really the Leafs were poor, because like the one, it goes off Stoller's helmet and in the top corner. Like, I don't know. That's just an amazing shot. Everyone seemed to be in position. So, yeah, tough one.
Still only 80.5% PK on the season. That's not great. You'd like to see around 85% or more to be a good penalty killing team. 80% is not good. That means the other team is having one of the best penalty, like probably the best penalty kill in the best power play in the league this season. So, who is the best power play in the league this season? Google will tell me that.
And it's Winnipeg.
It's Winnipeg. Okay, so what is their percentage? Is it 20? Because it'd probably be about 20, right? So that's what the Leafs are giving
46.
up constantly. 46. Okay, well, the average on a normal season is usually around 20, 25.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, like, the Leafs are giving up one of the best penalty kills or power plays in the.
Their penalty kill's not great on the season.
Every single team in the league, not just to the Winnipeg Jets. Sorry, I wasn't fully listening. I was trying to get those stats.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, like I think that, it hasn't been amazing in general, but tonight in particular, I was less concerned about just how bad that the Leafs were and just how good Winnipeg was. That's all. Like 40, it's like 45% on the season, not just tonight. Like, that's just unbelievable. So, but yeah, it needs to be better. Like, I'm not sure if it's how the players are getting used to the system. I think that runs out of an excuse at a game 10. So, like, we got one more of those, and then we got to be like, okay, you've had enough time. Like, now it's, the personnel on the PK. So,
yeah, I think I think they've had enough run. I think things have got to change, and it's crazy because they brought in all these new coaches, and they're going to run things, and things are going to be different, and things are already not working at all. So it's like they're making changes, and guys are being told their original plans they drafted up are not good enough. So there's going to be some resets. There's going to be some changes, and I would expect probably a little more pain before we get back to the pleasure of being comfortable of knowing this team and how and when they're going to win games. But for right now, it's kind of a toss-up every single game. But isn't that kind of the fun part of the season now? It's not a guarantee we make the playoffs this year, buddy.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting, like, I was actually, just before we started, I was thinking about the difference between watching a Raptors game and a Leafs game. Just totally different teams in different, progressions of their rebuild. Like the Raptors are basically like, 8 years behind the Leafs. And like, even tonight I watched the Raptors and they don't win, they blow a lead. But to me, it's like such a successful game because, they showed promise. But like, this is a team that it's just, there's enough of showing promise. And so I know that it's about the 10 games and, we might not make the playoffs. It's a push for it, but I just feel like it's locked in, like I want to see more of a progression of playing the right way. And so that's kind of more what I focus on, and you want to collect wins. And so like, we're playing, I forget again, you said Utah or Seattle on Thursday?
Seattle. Yeah.
They're the same team to me.
That's the same thing.
Yeah. So we play one of them on Thursday. And so I feel like it should be just like collect a win. And if it's not, it's kind of a big disappointment. So need to reel it in a little bit here. We had and you know what I said last show that like 4 games to me was like panic time. That's where I start to think about, you just lost a series in 4 games if you have 4 bad games in a row. So, they pulled one off. So it's kind of like a reset, and hopefully now they can go on a bit of a winning streak here.
Well, we'll have to see. I think we're going to wrap that one up here unless you have any more things you want to throw on the agenda before we get out of here.
No, I'm good to go.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for Split the Defense Leafs post-game presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors, serving the Kingston and surrounding area since 2004. We appreciate your comments. Hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube, tell your friends, download the podcast, listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it there. Apple, all those other places you listen to podcasts. We'll see you Thursday. Peace.
Follow the boys on Twitter at STDPWebby, at Craig D. Pearce, and at Ted_is_show.